Powered by Riverside FM.
Powered by Riverside.
Welcome to the UP Unconventional Playbook. I'm your host, Lionel Jones. Thank you so much for all the likes, all the subscriptions. Keep liking and subscribing. It keeps that algorithm going and it really supports the show. So I really, really appreciate that. You know, last night I was a little angry after the Minnesota Timberwolves game. Those of you that watched that episode of the UP, I was a little angry. But I've calmed down a little bit. I'm a little bit more rational than I was last night. I was pretty heated. But I do have some concern for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think they blew a huge opportunity last night. And it's going to be hard to flip the switch and come back from that. So today, I've come up with 5 reasons why the Timberwolves may be on vacation come Thursday. Because I think it's very likely that they may not win another game. And before you log into the comments and attack me, say I'm not a real fan and I'm jumping off the bandwagon, I'm the biggest Minnesota Timberwolves fan there is. I'm just realistic. And I have a basis of why I feel this way. Like, this stuff has happened before in Minnesota sports. Remember the Vikings football team with Randy Moss and Chris Carter? Randall Cunningham was that quarterback. Remember that? And I think our theme song, the Super Bowl, was in Miami that year. And it was Will Smith's Going to Miami. They took us all the way up to the NFC Championship game. And what did they do? They had a chance to lock the game in. They missed a field goal. That was it. I mean, teams in this town have a knack for just letting you down. So I don't think anyone that's been a Minnesota fan, really, if you really think about it, if you take your emotions out of it, you really can't blame me. Like, you can't blame me for being a little cynical and just a little doubtful. I was in the Timberwolves camp when they were up by 2 in the series. I didn't expect for them to sweep, but I thought at worst they're going to come away 3-1. And they couldn't get the job done. So now, is it really bad of me to have a little doubt? Now listen to some of the other podcasts, the Minnesota podcasts out there, and those guys are great. You know, not throwing any shade on them, but I love the fact that they're staying positive and they're telling people to relax. 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 I forgot who said that. But anyway, they're telling people to calm down. And they're telling people that the series is just 2-2. And I love the whole perspective of, well, what if the Minnesota Timberwolves were down 0-2 and then they came home and won 2 games and they were 2-2? The whole perspective would be different. But here's the deal. That's a nice dream, but that didn't happen that way. They were up 2-0. We deal with reality here on the UP. We deal with reality. They were up 2-0. They've lost 2, and now they're tied 2-2. That's the real perspective. We're not playing an imaginary game here. That's what happened. And so it's bad to have a little doubt. Let's get to these 5 reasons why the Timberwolves may be on vacation by Thursday. The first reason is they don't look like they can stop Jokic. Like, he's doing whatever he wants to do in this series. A lot of it is, I'm not going to put a huge piece of the pie on the referees, but they got part of it. I mean, every time he drives, he leads with his forearm and he pushes the defender away. So that's hard to defend, but hey, Minnesota Timberwolves, if they're not calling anything, you got to find a way. Plus, you got the defensive player of the year on your team. Rudy Gobert, you got to be able to slow him down. Like, again, I'm not asking for too much. I'm not saying you got to stop him. It would be great if you could do that, but you're the defensive player of the year. You've got to be able to slow him down. But it doesn't look like they're able to do that. And if that doesn't get done, they can't win tomorrow night, guys. They can't. Those people, the podcasts out there and the shows that are supporting the Timberwolves, I hope you are right. I hope that I'm wrong. Prove me wrong. That you can stop him and that there's a reason why we should be positive going into these next couple of games. Prove me wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you look back at this podcast and say to yourself, Lionel, you're wrong. And I hope you call me out in the comments late Tuesday night after you watch the game and say, Lionel, you're wrong, but I think I'm going to be right. I think I'm going to be right. Number 2, they're using the word world champions as a crutch. I'm so sick and tired of the Minnesota Timberwolves referring to the Denver Nuggets as world champs. Yes, they're world champs. But when you say that when you're getting interviewed, oh, we were up 2-0. We didn't expect for it to be easy. I mean, they're a good team. We're playing the world champs. That's a crutch. That's an excuse to not perform. You knew they were the world champs when you went up to Denver and you whooped their butts. You had a certain focus and a mentality. They were the world champs then. So you can't use the word world champs every 5 minutes in conversations when you're talking to the media. It's not an excuse. You got to battle. You were the number 1 seed, the best team in the Western Conference for 95% of the year. You are equipped to be able to deal with them. So I thought. Maybe I was wrong there. But the sports writers and the podcasts that are more optimistic than the UP, where we deal with reality, are saying that we shouldn't panic, we shouldn't worry, we shouldn't have concern. Well, okay. We'll see on Tuesday night, because these are concerns for me. I coach the game, and these are concerns for me. Number 3, I get the feeling that they feel like, well, if we don't get it this year, we'll be back next year. And I hear it more so from Anthony Edwards, who's been fantastic. Oh, he fantastic last night. But I feel like he's saying to himself, he keeps saying this is a series. Now it's the first 1-2. It's a series. It's a series. Well, you had an opportunity to close out the series, the last 2 games. At worst, come back to Denver 3-1. And I get the feeling that you feel like, well, even if we don't get it this year, we'll get back. Message to Anthony Edwards. You may not ever get back. Dan Marino went to the Super Bowl, I believe, his first year in the NFL. He never got back. Giannis Antetokounmpo won a championship a few years ago. Where's the Milwaukee Bucks been the last few years? On their third coach since they won the championship. There are no guarantees in this business. So when you get these opportunities to win a chip, make the most of your opportunities. Nothing is guaranteed. You never know when you're going to get back. Remember when we had Sam Cassell, Sprewell, KG, Kevin Garnett? We thought we were going to get back. Did we get back? Remember when we got Brett Favre from the Green Bay Packers? We made it all the way to the NFC Championship game. We lost. What happened the following year? We didn't get back. There are so many examples of when you have this moment. The Vikings with Randall Cunningham and Randy Moss, we made it. We missed a field goal. What happened the following year? Did we get back? So you got to make the most of your opportunities. You can't have this mindset, oh, well, it's a series. When you have an opportunity to step on their neck, you better step on their neck. Because now you're in trouble. And the world champions, as you call them, are smelling blood. It's the third reason. It's the third reason. Number 4, they lost out on an opportunity to go up 3-1. Man, you come home and you play in front of those fans. I just don't understand how you can't win one of those games. You know, there's been stories of moms when something happens to their babies, something falls on them, that their adrenaline starts pumping and they can lift up a car that may be crushing their child. See, that's what happens when your back's up against the wall and you have a sense of urgency. Your body can do things that ordinarily, in normal moments, you don't know that you can do. But the real test of someone's character is when their back's up against the wall. Hey, game 3 can happen to anybody. But you felt that punch in game 3, and you knew what was going to happen if you let the series get tied last night. So there should have been a certain level of oomph last night. You had to get it, and you couldn't. And you couldn't stop them. You should have been in a frame of mind where you had to stop them. You're playing desperate. Let's get it done. And you couldn't. And the Joker walked through you against the defensive player of the year. This is why I have concern. Because I knew what your frame of mind had to be. And you couldn't stop them. That's a concern. It's number 4. Number 5, not enough scoring. Not enough scoring that you can count on other than Anthony Edwards. Now, I'm not in the camp that's going to blame Big Cat like most people are doing on all these national publications. Big Cat, Big Cat, Big Cat, Big Cat, Big Cat. Yeah, Big Cat's part of the problem. You know, he's got to do more. But, man, it's got to be more than Anthony Edwards and Big Cat. Like, Rudy Gobert can't score unless he's dunking the basketball. Like, if he's away from the basket, posting up away from the basket where he's got to make a move, if he can't dunk it, it's like flipping a coin. It's like 50-50. He doesn't have the finesse and he doesn't have the bag to be able to finish at the basket if he can't dunk it. Is anybody watching the games? Do you see that? Jaden McDaniels, he's hit or miss. Some nights he's there offensively. Other nights he's not. Can't count on him. Conley, he's a facilitator, floor general, exceptional point guard, coach on the floor. So glad he's on this team. But can you count on him for buckets? Walker, are you going to count on him for consistent buckets? You know, honestly, our third scorer is Naz Reid. But if he's not hitting, it's down to Big Cat and Anthony Edwards in terms of just some consistency. This is why I'm concerned. There is no consistency in scoring other than Anthony Edwards that you can rely on. I'm not making that up. I'm not jumping off the bandwagon. I'm just keeping it real on the UP. If I'm wrong, tell me who is the most consistent scorer behind Karl Anthony Towns. I'll wait. That's a concern. They had a stretch last night. I believe it was in the second quarter where they went 5 minutes without scoring a field goal, a bucket. That's a concern. It is why, with the combination of not being able to stop the Joker, playing desperate basketball and not able to get a win at home, and the lack of consistent scoring outside of Anthony Edwards, what is there to be optimistic about? If you're waiting on them to replicate the defensive exhibition that they put on Denver in game 2, you're going to be waiting a long time. Because I feel like, honestly, Denver took them lightly. And they came in and they underestimated the Timberwolves. And the wake-up call was everybody in the national media talking about how they sucked and how they were going to get swept, and they watched film to get prepped to come to Minneapolis. That got them a little motivated. So if I'm wrong, duplicate it. If I'm being too harsh on the Timberwolves, let me see it tomorrow night. Let me see that defensive effort. Replicate what you did in game 2, if that's not the case. See, I think a little bit of it was the Denver Nuggets took them lightly, and they weren't mentally prepared for that game. Now they're prepared. I'm not taking anything away from the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm just dealing with reality. Those are the 5 reasons why I think the Timberwolves may be on vacation by Thursday. Before you jump all over me, I hope I'm wrong. I would love nothing better than to be wrong. I hope they win this series. How exciting would it be for the city of Minneapolis? They deserve it. Minnesota fans deserve this. The Timberwolves deserve it. They've worked their butt off all year to put themselves in a position to win and take advantage of this. I just want to see them take advantage of this. They got to get it done tomorrow night. I'm just not optimistic from what I'm seeing on the floor and what I'm hearing from Timberwolves players. Got to find a way to get it done. This has been Unconventional Playbook, where we keep it real. We can be fans of the Minnesota Vikings and the Minnesota Timberwolves and still keep it real here. Enjoy that game tomorrow. I'm hoping and praying for a W for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Let's go up 3-2 and come back to the Target Center and have a chance to close this thing out. This has been Unconventional Playbook.
Powered by Riverside.